Hi, it's Dawn. Welcome back. Today I'm playing with leftover watercolor paper. I don't know about you guys, but I end up with scribbles and scraps of watercolor paper that I then stick in this little folder, and at various times I have a need to test out colors or swatch out something or what have you, and this just always tends to give me, options to do that. But then some other times I have a lot of watercolor paint left and I'm trying to clean off a palette. And what I do is I will, this is a whole bunch of orange and red and obviously yellows. And this one I put some salt on, and this one I didn't. And then there's this blue one I did, but then like this palette, or this piece, man, I was really cleaning up a palette. But here's what I do with these things. I take this is a big Fisker's large punch. I don't know the size, I do apologize. It's about, I don't know, 2 inches across maybe. I could measure that better, but I don't want to. And then I will come in here and I turn it upside down like this so that I can see. And then I pop that, and then this is really not, because it's watercolor paper, this then becomes either a card front, or I've seen people do affirmations on the back of these things, or I've seen other people put them like art prompts. If you want to write down prompts and just have them in a jar, a decorative jar. I've seen some people do that. But I mean, the ugliest paper that you can find will sometimes turn into the most beautiful of hearts when you go to cut them out. Let's see if we can find one with a opera pink here going on here. Because by the time you punch it, it totally changes how that looks, see? And so I was showing this to my sister the other day, and I said, hey, you just take some scrap watercolor paper, and before you know it, you end up with some really interesting hearts. In fact, sometimes the more dynamic the scribbles, translation ugly, the prettier the hearts end up being. And then that doesn't mean you can't go back over them and do something else with them, or put a little sentiment on them and say, I love you, or just whatever. But this is a real fun way to use up your leftover, because you can use the cheapest watercolor paper you can find, dollar store, or Walmart, or a sale bin at a big box store, or buy one get one deals, and they end up being like 10 cents a sheet of watercolor paper, or 50 cents a sheet. Look at that one, and that's not pink, that's salmony and yellow, but look how yummy that is. And so but then you're not limited to that color. I mean, look at this one. This cleanup sheet is really something. Let's go over here and see if we can find a neat color here. Let's do like this. And once you punch it, you go, oh, that's kind of cool looking. And so, and then I just go down the way a little bit, and before you know it, you've got a whole bunch. And I know it's not Valentine's Day, but that's not the point. It could be any shape. It could be a circle. It could be a square. It could be a what are those other things? The stamps. It could also be the scalloped things that are out there. Some of the scalloped shapes are quite nice. And then once you reach all you can do, you cut it off and do some more. And I think they're fun. A little jar of these is fun. Anyway, so I was going to make some of these papers today, and even these green ones. Who would expect a green heart to be cute? Well, it can be. Or turquoise. I mean, look at this mess. Now, some of these may not turn out great. You might go, yeah, no, that's not for me. Okay. But then again, maybe you love it. Now, this is not a watercolor masterpiece, but that's got a lot of character. And then the salt. These look super cool when you punch the salt ones. I love that. I think that's really fun. And then this orange. I mean, some of these oranges, now I am not a big orange person, but I finished some project with orange and I thought like, oh, got way too much orange. And look at that. I mean, come on. That's pretty cool. And then if you go down here to the yellow, I'm not picking yellow hearts, but you know what you could do? I just had a brainwave. You know what's coming up? Valentine's, silly me. St. Patrick's Day. And I know this isn't green, but let's say this is, for a second, let's suspend reality that this is green. And you can make shamrocks, because 4 hearts make a shamrock. 1, 2, 3. Yes, I can count. I'm a big kid now. Alright, and here's the 4th one. Alright, now let's grab a piece of card. This is just, let's just play with this for a second. Just for, I know this is not what I want to use for a card, but just to get the idea. Now you've got a St. Patrick's Day thing. And then I know I had a green one here a second ago. Here we go. Green. Punch out a couple different green ones. Okay, there's a green one. It's a little addicting, I don't mind telling you. You start making all these papers and you just start punching out green hearts everywhere. And before you know it, you got a whole... You could even do a 3-leaf one. All right. Come on, that's cute. Make them all touch, or you can make them spaced apart and put a little button, doodad, whatever in the middle, or gem, or whatever. I mean, come on. So what I was going to do is just kind of show you what I do when I'm putting it down on paper. I'm doing a cleanup, and just show you real quick. And then there's another way you can do it with acrylic, so I'm going to show you both. Hold on. I cleared the deck a little bit. I wanted to show you this. This was kind of my inspiration piece. This is a piece I cut up earlier. I don't have any more of this piece than this, but what I wanted to show you is all the reds and the wateriness and the, you know, the pinks that happen as a result. And we may or may not get that here, but that's kind of my inspiration piece. And I may do another one with acrylic just to kind of see if we can get a real fun. But I just very simply, I'm just drawing. Yep, I know people are out there screaming, no, your palette. Don't care. Because at this point, I'm ready to clean this palette up. So that's why this project is happening. And I'm just using a mop brush. It's a 1-inch oval mop. It's very handy for projects just like this. And I'm just grabbing a whole bunch of color and I'm just putting it down. And it'll dry however it wants to. And then we'll see what we get when it dries for as far as patterns are concerned. And I'm just gonna kind of I'm gonna just create some splatters, because that always creates. Should have probably taped this down, because now it's all what's the word, bowing and bending, but that's okay. We're just having a little fun playing with a little paper. Let's see. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to switch out brushes here, or if I just want to keep going with this one. And I may let it dry and do another layer or two before it's all said and done. And I probably will, actually. Okay, let's let this dry and I'll be back. Okay, so it's mostly dry. I had laid my brush across there to hold the paper down and, of course, made a little line, but that's okay. Now I'm just gonna add some inky bits to it. And again, I'm just trying to get some highs and lows, and just don't really much matter because I'm just mopping up what's left in my pan, maybe what's on my desk. I should have put a mat down, did I? No. Oh well. And like I mentioned, I'm just trying to clean up this palette, so I may grab some of these other colors over here and introduce a little bit of warmth here and there with some of these yellows and oranges. I'm just trying to get this palette cleaned up. I need it for something else, but we're going to make use of it. So we're just going to add another layer. I don't want to completely cover it because I do want to leave some areas of, I don't know, highs and lows, highlights I suppose is the right word, but negative space other people would say, but that's the next layer. Let's let that, because we didn't use as much water this time, it's not going to wrinkle on us, but let's let that dry and we'll be back. Okay, so now I'm going to just grab a little bit of super dark color, almost without water. And again, it's just about creating some layers. Because as the reference piece shows you, there's some really dark stuff, some middle stuff, and then some really paler stuff. So I'm just trying to, maybe I need a little bit of water. That brush is dried out a little bit. But now I'm just trying to just get some super saturated spots. And I'm trying to hit the spots that are already kind of darker anyway, because to hit a lighter spot is to then kind of take it to a medium place. And I'm just trying to, and it doesn't have to be this much thought put into it. I'm just kind of showing you what I like to do. And then again, I'm just going to grab some of these other oranges and layer it in. I like the way the orange and the yellow layer in. I think it makes it a more interesting piece. If you don't want to spoil your oranges or, you know, wreck them, as it were, with what I'm doing over here with mine, which is going to be a clean palette by the time I'm done, then don't do that. But and then the other thing you could do too is just grab some water and then hit it just with some water, just to create some natural bloomings and so forth. Okay, let's let that dry and we'll come back and do the acrylic version. Okay, so I dug out some acrylics. This is still watercolor paper, some Strathmore. I don't think I showed you before, but it was Strathmore, whatever this series is, series 2, I think. I can't remember. Why can't I figure it out? I don't know. Oh, series 3, 300, whatever. I just cut it in half. I just took a piece in my first watercolor. Piece on watercolor, still drying. You can still see it's kind of wet and runny, but it's okay. It'll dry. In the meantime, I grabbed a bunch of acrylic paints. This bottle here, this is Anita's. This is like super cheap. The rest of these are like $1 at Walmart, these folk art. And I've got a bunch of bottles here, different colors. Here's another Anita's. This one's just about empty. And then I got a brayer. And all I'm going to do is use up some stuff that's about to go. And we're just going to brayer. And this couldn't be any simpler. And I go north and south and east and west. And then this is actually quicker than water and easier than watercolor, to be perfectly fair. All right, let's do a different color. This color, Anita, is dark red. This one is engine red. This one's cardinal red. Let's throw a little pink on here. And I really, you know, dollar store paint, whatever. Just pull out what you got. Throw it down. And it's like kids' tempera paint. Who cares? And then just go left, north and south, east and west. Until you go, oh, I like what that looks like. And then you stop. All right, let's put down. Ooh, some of these are kind of runny. But that's okay. We can deal with runny. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that color, so we may not. And I put paper down because then that way I can just go all the way to the edges and let the chips fall where they may. And then I use these under papers for other things later, but hey, just kind of. All right, we're back to that. I need a bright red. We're going to just use the rest of this bottle up. There's not much left in this bottle. We're down to the end, and the next time I go to use it, there won't be anything in it. Oh, I was going to grab some white, too. And we're not looking to cover it. We're just looking to create a little fun, a little texture. A little highs and lows. Let's throw a little white on here. Why not? Ooh, that's a lot of white. Oh well. We're just having a little pinky fun. And that's going to mix and make some pink. And then when we're done, we just roll it off onto the paper. We're not trying to make a piece of art here. And then if I think it's still too much, I will grab another piece of packing paper. Amazon packaging, whatever. And we'll put that down. We'll do a little rub. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Love that. Okay. Now we're going to set that to dry. And then we'll come back and do some punching. One more thing I forgot to show you is I just threw down some coarse sea salt when I've got a bunch of puddles. One, it gives a really neat texture, and two, it speeds up the drying process. And I just kind of shake it around until it finds, salt will find the wet, you know. And once it all stops moving around, I'll just let it finish drying, and that makes a really neat texture. That's what created this texture on this piece here is coarse sea salt. Now, if you don't have this, use table salt. You'll get smaller, much smaller little guys like that. In fact, I might put a little bit of table salt on this too, because I've got so much water going on here. But yeah, it creates some fun. Okay, so while the watercolor is drying, I went and I decided to pull out some of my acrylic markers. Some of these are super old. They're called Montana markers. I'm going to show you here. I apologize if you have this ready. But I'm trying to... these big bad boys, these are I think 15 millimeter. Yeah. I've probably had these things, no lie, 10 years, maybe 15. And they're a couple shades of pink. And I'm going to do a little mark making. And then I've got some Poscas that I pulled out. And then these are some smaller Montana markers, I believe. What size are these bad boys? These are called 5 millimeter, 5M, PC 5M. But these I think are similar. Well, okay, they look like that. That's the easiest thing I can say. And it may be the exact same. Oh, I haven't used that red yet. I may not. But what I was thinking about doing, let's just prime it real quick. And you know, we may find out that these things are, oh look, I probably haven't touched this thing in 7 or 8 years. There we go. So I was just thinking about doing, you know, some dots on here in this size 5 size. Why did I get out orange? I don't know. I really don't want orange. And I'm just making dots. I could get out a white marker too. Or you can do, you know, like mark making like this. Especially over the white areas. I'll get the big ones out here in a second. Show you those too. I'm pleasantly... Now the thing about these Montana markers is they are basically the Posca, but you can refill these guys. So you have to go to a fine art store to buy Montana markers. You might find them at Blick. You can find Posca at Walmart these days. I mean, Posca's everywhere. And you can refill them yourself. You can, ooh, well, we have some red there. It really came out now. You can fill it with acrylic as long as it doesn't have, as long as it's a good acrylic. And then airbrush medium. And I forget the ratio. I'm sure it's on Google or somebody on YouTube will show you how to do it. But I was just going to show you some mark making while we wait on the watercolor. Let's get out a big... This lid makes me scared. Look how dirty this lid is. Oh lordy, oh lordy. Okay, well we're about to make some marks in a different way. It's all down in the cap. See, we're about to use the lid as circles. When in doubt, improvise. Right? Because that is all down in there. When I was shaking it, I noticed the lid got all dirty, and I'm like, uh-oh. It just went everywhere. Okay, well, That was interesting. We got a lot of that out. Now let me see if I can just make some. It's a much quicker way of it when you got a bigger nib. Pull out all your toys. That is the name of the game today. All right, let's try the lighter pink. Wow, it's messy. I might have to go in there and clean that out. But not right this second. Okay. I think these are called Shock Pink. They have unusual names. Yeah, Shock Pink Light and Shock Pink Rose. Okay, whatever. I'm telling you, I'd like to be on the naming committee of some of these companies. Ooh, this one's crusty and dusty. This one may or may. Ooh, I think it's coming down. Okay, there. There we go. And you could do, you know, like lines like that. Or boxes. Just whatever you want. Just kind of make some mark making on top of the put down paper. That's a really good idea. Put down paper. And you can use that end of the nib and go this way, or this end of the nib and go that way. Skinny, wide. And the point is when we're done with all of this, is we're going to end up cutting up into shapes. So none of these mark making moments are really going to make it through, other than just to be something interesting in the shape that we punch. And what's this color? This color is Shock Red Rouge. Let's see what this color looks like. We got a lot of pink going on here. It's been a minute since I've used this one. Oh wow, that looks kind of orange. All right, let's shake that a bit more. Well, actually, I'm going to go over here to this one. This one is by Posca, and it's called Red Wine. This I know I've used. Oh, I like that dark color. Trying not to contaminate the nib by touching it into the Shock Pink Montana. Oh, that's really interesting. I'm not sure if you can see that when we lift it up. It looks kind of brown black, but it's like a red wine. That's coming through quite nicely. But I think all these will just make for some interesting patterns when we print it or cut it. Stamp. Oh, I need more coffee. Whatever. You know what I'm saying. All right, let's prime this red Posca real quick and call it a day. Let me shake it up. This one is dark red. And then I save these underpapers because oftentimes I'll use them as pages in journals, or I'll do some ephemera and it'll be a base of an ephemera piece. You'll be surprised how much you can use this stuff, and then meanwhile you haven't wasted any paint. All right, okay, I like that red. Look at that. This one's dark red. Yep, dark red. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful color, and a much bigger point is coming out on that one. I'll lift it up here in a second so you can see it. I mean, you can just go crazy. This would be a fun project with your kids, you know, just sit them down with a bunch of kid-friendly markers and paints and just some paper. And I mean, you can use cardstock. You can even use copy paper, honestly. Honestly. Look at that red right there. Oh, that red is really, really rich. I love it. Okay, so we're going to let these dry. The watercolor, I did add some more salt to it. I'm kind of waiting on that to dry now, and then we'll dust that salt off. It's still a little wet. I can still see water there. And the white means it just didn't soak up any pigment, but I'm just leaving it alone till I'm done. And then I'll scrape it all off, and once it's dry, and then save it. I keep a little bucket of it on my desk. anytime I want salt, it's right there. Anyway, I'll be back in a little bit and we'll start cutting these guys up. Okay, so everything's dry. I got all the salt off. It didn't give me quite the texture that I was looking for that I got with this one. So I'm not real sure how I did this. I mean, I might have used more table salt than the coarse salt. That might be what happened. I mean, I did get some texture here. You can see that there a little bit. And then I got a little bit over here. I might have waited too long also. That's the other thing. It's kind of an afterthought. And it usually does better when you first hit it early. But anyway, we still like it. So let's just do some punching and show you what that looks like. And both the acrylic and the watercolor. So we're just going to go down the road and we're going to get what we get. And as Tim Holtz says, we're not going to throw a fit. We're just going to slicey dicey. In this case, punchy. Ooh, that was a projectile, wasn't it? Now you could be selective about, you know, positioning these in a certain way, and you know, do you? If you want to go around and audition a piece and go, ooh, yeah, I like that and like that, go for it. Me, I'm just trying to maximize the paper. And I figure it's just going to be what it's going to be, and try to take the happy accidents as they come. It's all polka dotty. Okay. Line some of these guys up. These are fun. And all we did was just play around like we were a bunch of kindergartners in art school, or kindergarten class. Obviously, you've got some others here. I'll slice those up in a second. Let's do these watercolor ones real quick and just kind of see. These are much more painterly, the watercolory, whatever. Some of these are pretty solid. Okay, and then what I'll do after this is I will slice off a row and lay bare a whole new row to... Oh, I love that one. Oh, that one's pretty too. And obviously you can... Such different looks too, because this is far more blue and these are far more orangey, warm reds, and yeah. So there you go, and you can make, you know, affirmations or art prompts or words of the day. Include them in a card or just whatever, and you know, slice this off and cut another 2 rows. And there you go. So we had a little fun making some watercolor hearts with some leftover watercolor paint, some acrylics. Bob, you know, sky's the limit. Bob's your uncle. Grab your stuff. Have some fun. See you soon. Bye.